The studio lights buzzed faintly above them, casting long shadows on the brick walls of Joe Rogan's podcast set. Elon Musk sat with his usual calm demeanor, arms resting loosely on the chair's arms. But tonight, there was something different in the air, a kind of silence that wasn't empty, but expectant, like the moment before thunder breaks. Joe Rogan leaned in, his eyes narrowing just slightly. "Elon," he said, voice steady, "I have to ask you something that's been eating at me for months." Elon looked up slowly. His eyes didn't blink. The room felt still. "What?" Joe asked. "Are you most afraid of?" The words landed like a stone thrown into deep water, quiet at first, but rippling out in waves. For a moment Elon didn't answer. He leaned back in his chair and stared at the ceiling, as if searching for something far beyond it. The silence stretched. Joe didn't push. "I used to think it was failure," Elon finally said. "Losing everything, SpaceX crashing, Tesla going bankrupt, that kind of thing. But it's not that anymore?" Elon shook his head. "No. What scares me now is something I don't think I ever admitted, even to myself." Joe tilted his head. Elon's voice dropped low. "What scares me is that I might succeed at everything and still lose the one person who sees me as just Dad." There was a pause, heavy, sacred, human. "Your son," Joe said quietly. Elon nodded. The cameras rolled in silence. The world would watch this moment, but right now it was just two men. No audience, no clicks, no charts or rockets or AI. Just a man and a friend, staring into the parts of themselves they usually kept hidden. "Do you talk to him about this?" Joe asked. "I try," Elon said. "But he's young. He asks questions I don't know how to answer. Last week he looked me in the eyes and asked, 'Dad, do you ever talk to God?'" Joe blinked. "What did you say?" Elon gave a sad smile. "I said, I talk to the stars. I try to listen to silence. Maybe that's how he speaks. But the truth is, I didn't know. I didn't know how to explain it." Joe sat back, his face softening. "Sometimes," he said, "the most powerful thing we can do is let our kids see that we don't have all the answers." Elon's eyes glistened. He looked down at his hands, then back up. "I didn't come here to talk about this," he whispered. "I know," Joe said, "but maybe this is exactly what people need to hear." And somewhere, in the quiet between questions, the journey began. The day after the podcast, Elon flew home in silence. The jet engines hummed a constant white noise, but inside his mind, Joe's question echoed louder than any turbine. "What are you most afraid of?" It didn't leave him. Neither did the memory of his son's voice, small, clear and piercing through the clutter of business calls and boardroom charts. "Dad, do you ever talk to God?" Elon didn't answer then, not really. But that night, as the stars blinked quietly above his California home, he found himself outside on the balcony, alone watching the moon, until he heard the door slide open behind him. "Can't sleep either?" his son said, shuffling out in pajamas, holding a worn-out plush toy. Elon smiled softly. "Come here." The boy climbed into the outdoor chair beside him. For a while, they just sat, father and son, looking up at the same sky. Then the boy asked something that froze Elon's breath. "Why do people pretend they're okay, Dad?" Elon looked down at him. "What do you mean?" The boy didn't blink. "I watched your interview. You looked different. Sad." He paused, gripping the plush tighter. "Everyone says you're the smartest man in the world, but even you didn't know what to say about God. That made me feel, I don't know, like maybe it's okay if I don't have answers either." Elon's throat tightened. "I guess," he began carefully, "a lot of people wear masks, not the ones for COVID, the invisible kind." "Like superheroes?" the boy asked. "Exactly," Elon nodded. "But the mask doesn't make you strong. It hides the parts of you that are already strong. Your honesty, your feelings, your faith. We pretend we're okay so people won't worry, or so they won't ask questions we don't want to answer." "Did Jesus wear a mask?" The question cut deeper than Elon expected. He hesitated. No, I don't think he did." The boy turned to face him fully. "Then why do we?" Elon had no answer, but something stirred in his chest. Not fear this time, not shame, but something unfamiliar, like surrender. And in that surrender, a realization formed. Maybe the most powerful thing a father could do was unmask himself first, not with words, but with presence, with truth. "I've made mistakes," Elon whispered. I've chased rockets and Mars and machines. But the real journey, maybe it's here, sitting with you, answering the questions I never dared to ask myself." His son leaned his head on Elon's shoulder. "Do you think Jesus listens when kids talk?" Elon swallowed hard. "I think he listens most when kids talk, because kids don't pretend. They just speak from their heart." The boy smiled. Then he asked one more question. "Do you think God gets sad when we forget him?" Elon didn't have words. He just held his son tighter, staring into the sky as if hoping it would answer for him. And somewhere in that quiet, maybe it did. The next morning came slow and golden. Sunlight poured through the kitchen windows as Elon stood silently over the sink, pouring 2 glasses of orange juice. His son sat at the table, legs swinging under the chair, cereal untouched. The boy was thinking, that look again, the one Elon had learned to recognize. When his son got quiet like this, something deep was coming. "Was Jesus ever lonely?" the boy asked suddenly. Elon turned, glass still in hand. "What made you ask that?" The boy shrugged. "You looked lonely last night. I was wondering if Jesus ever felt that too." Elon sat down slowly, sliding a glass to his son. He stared at the table, lost in thought. "I think he was. I mean, everyone left him, didn't they? Even his closest friends ran away when things got hard." The boy nodded. "And he still loved them?" "Yes," Elon said, softer now. "He still loved them." A long pause followed. The sound of birds outside, the soft hum of the fridge, the world moving on. But something in Elon had stopped. That question was sticking to his chest, more than he expected. Was Jesus ever lonely? He thought of the nights he spent alone in hotels, chasing time zones and deadlines. He remembered sitting on launch pads, watching countdowns while his phone remained silent, not because no one could reach him, but because no one really saw him. All the world knew Elon Musk, but almost no one knew him. "I think the loneliest moments," he said finally, "are the ones where you're surrounded by people, but none of them really know what's going on inside." The boy looked at him. "Do you think Jesus knew what was going on inside people?" "I think that was his gift," Elon whispered. "To see the hearts, not the faces." The boy smiled, as if something made sense now. "I want to be like that," he said. "I want to see people's hearts." Elon nodded slowly. "Then you're already closer to him than most adults I know." That hit somewhere deep. The boy looked down into his cereal. "Sometimes I feel sad, but I don't know why. I think maybe it's God reminding me not to forget him." Elon reached out, placing a hand gently over his son's. "I think that's your soul talking. And when we feel things we don't understand, maybe that's when we need God most." "Even you?" Elon chuckled lightly. "Especially me." They sat like that, father and son, hands joined across a kitchen table, not solving the world's problems, not launching rockets, but touching something far more real. Love, stillness, truth. And then the boy asked something that would shape the rest of Elon's life. "Would you still chase Mars if it meant leaving me behind?" Elon's hand trembled slightly. He didn't answer right away. But in that moment a seed was planted, one that would grow into a decision no one could have predicted. Elon sat alone that night in his home office, the walls lined with shelves of books and models of rockets and planets. But tonight, the future felt small. Earth felt more real than Mars. His son's question replayed in his mind like a haunting melody. "Would you still chase Mars if it meant leaving me behind?" That wasn't a question about space. It was about love, about presence, about what mattered most when the countdown stopped. He leaned back in his chair and closed his eyes. That's when the boy came in again, quietly, like a whisper. He stood at the doorway holding a folded piece of paper. "I wrote something," he said. Elon motioned him over. The boy placed the paper in his hand and waited. It read, "If you had one more day, what would you do?" Elon looked up, surprised. "You wrote this?" The boy nodded. "I was thinking, if today was your last day, would you still work, or would you stay with me?" The question hit harder than anything Joe Rogan could ever ask. Elon stared at his son, then folded the paper carefully, like it was sacred. "Where did you learn to ask questions like this?" "I don't know," the boy said. "Sometimes I just feel like God puts them in my heart." Elon was quiet for a long moment. "When I was your age," he said, I thought the point of life was to make something big. A car, a rocket, a company. But maybe the point is to make something quiet. Something that lives on inside someone else. The boy leaned against him. Like love? Elon nodded. Like love. Jesus said love is the most important, the boy whispered. Yes, Elon replied. He did. Another long silence. Do you ever wish you could go back? The boy asked. Start over? Elon exhaled. Sometimes. But I think what matters more is how I finish. The boy looked up at him. Then finish with me, Dad. That line cracked something open inside Elon. All the timelines, the contracts, the artificial intelligence, it all paled in the presence of this small, clear-eyed truth. Time with the people we love is not a luxury. It's the very meaning of life. Suddenly, it all felt clear. The question wasn't what else he could build. The question was, who was he becoming? The next morning, Elon made a call that shocked his assistant. Cancel the board meeting. Cancel the launch schedule. Push everything. But Mr. Musk, I'm going away for a while, he said. With my son. There was a pause on the other end, then a quiet, yes, sir. That same day he packed a small bag and held his son's hand as they stepped onto the runway. No media, no cameras, just the two of them. Where are we going? The boy asked. To find out, Elon said, what one more day can really mean. And they walked toward the jet, with nothing but time, questions, and a new kind of hope. The private jet soared above the clouds, slicing through a sky painted with gold and lavender. Elon sat beside his son, not as a billionaire, not as the man chasing Mars, but as a father, finally listening. The world below shrank into silence. Where are we going? The boy asked again, peering out the window. Someplace quiet, Elon replied. Someplace where the stars look close. The boy smiled, then turned serious. Can I ask another question? Of course. The boy looked down at his hands. Why do people forget God when they have everything? Elon's heart paused. I don't know, he said honestly. Maybe it's because when we're full, we don't feel our hunger. When we're loud, we can't hear the whisper. The boy nodded. But what if that whisper is God? Elon stared out at the sky. Then we've been drowning him out for a long time. A gentle silence settled between them. The hum of the jet was the only sound. I think that's why people get sad, the boy said. Even when they have big houses and cars, they forgot who gave it all. Elon was quiet. Then he said something he'd never said before, not to the press, not to his partners, not even to himself. I think I forgot too. The boy looked up. I thought I could build so much that it would fill the emptiness. But no matter how far I went or how big I built, something inside me still felt far from home. Did you ever pray? The boy asked. Elon hesitated. Not in the way you might think, but lately I've been trying, in my own way. The boy reached over and took his hand. Can we try together? Elon blinked back the emotion that welled up. He nodded, so they closed their eyes. No cameras, no stage, no one watching, just a father and son whispering into the unknown. Dear God, the boy said softly, thank you for listening, even when we forget to talk to you. Please help my dad know you're still here, and help me always remember you, Elon added, voice cracking, and help me see what really matters before it's too late. They sat like that, holding hands, two hearts beating in the same rhythm, one that no machine could calculate. When they landed hours later, the sky was black and littered with stars. They stepped off the plane into the cool night air of a remote desert valley, far from signal towers and city lights. Why here? The boy asked. Elon smiled. Because in the quiet, we might finally hear him. They walked toward a cabin, nothing fancy, just a roof and four walls. But inside, it held something far rarer, space for truth, for healing, for God. Elon took a deep breath. This wasn't a retreat from the world. It was a return to what mattered. The cabin smelled of old wood and silence. There was no Wi-Fi, no buzzing devices, just the rustle of wind through trees and the gentle crackle of a small fire Elon had lit with his son. They sat side by side on the floor, wrapped in blankets, the firelight dancing across their faces. The boy was staring at the flames, deep in thought. Dad, he said quietly, what if God was never far? What if he was just waiting the whole time? Elon looked at him, stunned. That's a powerful thought, he replied. Waiting for what? The boy shrugged. For us to stop running. Elon felt something shift inside. That single sentence, "Stop running," echoed louder than the rockets ever had. All his life, he'd been building, racing, proving. But maybe faith wasn't something to chase. Maybe it was something to return to. The boy continued, "Do you think Jesus ever waited like that? Just sitting there, hoping we'd come back?" Elon nodded slowly. "I think that was his whole life." "Why would he wait so long?" the boy asked. "Because love doesn't force," Elon whispered. "It waits, it hopes, it never gives up." For the first time in years, Elon felt tears rise freely, not out of stress or pressure, but from a place deeper, like something ancient inside him had cracked open. "I don't want to forget him again," the boy said. "You won't," Elon replied, "because now he's in here." He gently placed his hand over his son's heart. "And in here," he added, placing the other hand on his own. Outside, the stars seemed closer than ever. They spent the next day hiking, talking, laughing, no schedule, no urgency. Elon told stories from his childhood. His son listened, asked more deep questions, some of them funny, some of them unanswerable. But the final night was different. They sat out under the stars, wrapped in coats, their backs against the earth. The sky stretched forever. "Dad," the boy asked one last time, "do you think God is proud of you?" Elon stared upward, letting the question sink. "I don't know," he said slowly. "But I think he's proud I'm finally asking." The boy smiled. "Then I think he is." They held hands again, this time without words. It wasn't a performance. It wasn't a confession. It was just presence, the kind Jesus spoke about, the kind that can heal. When they returned home days later, nothing in the world had changed, but everything inside Elon had. He returned to the studio months later. Joe Rogan welcomed him with a smile. "So," Joe said, "you ready to finish that conversation?" Elon smiled back. "We already did." Joe raised an eyebrow. "And what did you find?" Elon looked into the camera and spoke simply. "I found out that sometimes the greatest journey isn't to Mars. It's to the heart, to the place where God was quietly waiting all along." And in that moment, millions of people watching didn't just see Elon Musk. They saw a man who had remembered what it means to come home.